My name is Jonathan Goforth, and today we're going to talk about the topic that for some reason is the most commonly asked question of me is how do you create a name list? Your COI list, your database of names, your sphere of influence, your circle of influence, everything you want to call it, it's that name list of your people that you want to contact. That's what we're going to talk about today. This is a huge topic. It's something that's going to set apart all the new agents from all the other new agents who don't ever do this. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Creating a name list is the most important thing every new agent should do to get business. It's that crucial. It's a vital component. Most new agents never do this. And this is why most agents will fail. Most agents will be gone in 3 years. In fact, it's around 90 to 92% of the agents who are getting in now will be gone in less than 3 years because they don't market themselves to their circle of influence. Their sphere, whatever you want to call it, that's what we're going to create now. There are a lot of components to this, so we're going to break this down. We're going to make it as easy as possible. A couple things I want you to always remember. The more people who know you sell houses, the more houses you're going to sell. That's kind of the secret to real estate. The more people who know you sell houses, the more houses you're going to sell. So we want to create as many names and addresses and contact info as possible. One thing I want you to always have with you is paper. Wherever you go, have paper near you because you're going to think of names. You're going to think of a partial name or a relationship in the past, like college roommate. College roommate, my second year of college. Just write that down. Think about the name later, but write it down because these little images will come to your mind as you fall asleep, while you're driving, while you're eating out at a restaurant. Your mind's going to be jogged a little bit like, oh, I know the perfect person. Just write down what you can think of and then deal with it later. So I want you to have paper with you by your bed, paper in the bathroom by the sink, paper wherever you go. I would have paper while you're driving next to you. Always have a place you can write something down. Let's say you're out to eat and you don't have paper with you. Then text it to yourself or get it into your phone. Someplace you're going to find it again because you're going to need to revert back to all these notes to figure out names and addresses and all that. I put mine in an Excel spreadsheet, and then from there I can upload it into different places, but that's where I put it. I keep it at home on my computer, and I take your names and divide them out, first name and last name, 2 separate columns, because a lot of times you're going to want to sort your name list by last name. So don't merge it together, Bill and Mary Smith, because then you can't sort it out by last name. So do a column for first names and a column for last names. Column for the address. We'll talk about how you get some of these later if you don't have them. If you can get email addresses, you need that list also. And same with phone number. And then you need to know, are they on Facebook? Because you can instant message people if they're on Facebook. Some of them won't be. And that's another place that you can try to find them on Facebook and make them friends also. This is really what it is that we're after. Now let's talk about where does it come from? Where do you get all these names? Let's talk about that next. You're going to want to get out some paper and a pen. You're going to want to take notes on this next portion. This is so much fun. I will tell you up front, I make a career off of my name list. I have for years. My first year, I didn't sell anything. I didn't take it that seriously. My second year, I did. Now, I've been a realtor for 24 years. 24 years. In the beginning, it's tough. It's tough for every new agent. It's just difficult to break into a whole new career anyway, much less a sales career where you're 100% commission. It's just tough because everybody who is out there that you think should be using you to sell a house, they don't know you sell houses yet. So if they sold their house right now, they're gonna all call somebody else. So what you need to do, figure out how to contact everybody in your sphere of influence, which we're gonna talk about after this. How to contact them, what do you say to them, what do you contact them with? Do you do mailings? What is it you say to get business? And then who is it you're sending this to? That's what we're going to talk about now. The who portion of this. Who is it that's going in this name list? How do you come up with this list? At this point in my career, I've sold hundreds of houses, hundreds and hundreds of houses because of my name list. And I'm going to show you how this will work. Let's talk about the categories and what you do with them. Now remember, the more people who know you sell houses, the more houses you're going to sell. That seems so obvious, but then why do so many realtors fail? So let's talk about how to make you a huge success. Sources of names. Family is going to be one of your top two categories, depending on the size of your family. Your family needs to go in your name list. Your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins. Even if these family members are out of town, you need to get their support because you're going to get referrals. I promise you will get referrals from your family. Let's say you see your brother all the time. You see your brother and his wife, their kids, you see them all the time. They still need to go in your name list. So when you send out mailings, they still get them. They're going to think, why are you sending me your mailings? I see you every day. They need to know you're taking this business seriously, that you're working hard at this career, and you do want their referrals. So yes, they're going to say, well, stop sending me the mailings. Just keep sending them the mailings because you will get business from them. They're going to be your biggest supporters. Your parents, everyone else that goes in there associated with your family, cousins, distant cousins, they need to go in here. Let's talk about church. If you go to church and you're active at church and you know a lot of people, you need to put all of your church friends in your name list. People at your church would love to use you. They would love to use somebody they trust, somebody they know, and the difficulty there is getting those names and addresses. If your church has a directory, then you've got names. But a lot of churches don't have a directory anymore. My wife and I were both in choir for years. In fact, I proposed to my wife in front of the choir. The choir had a choir handbook with everybody's name, their addresses, their emails, all of that. Did I load all of them in my name list? Yes, I did. I cannot tell you over the last many years how many houses I have sold to members of the choir. It's insane the number of referrals from people at church. Now, if you go to a large church and you're active at church, so you need to know a lot of people, then church will probably become your number one source of business. Let's talk about neighbors. Neighbors are pretty easy if you've got their names because you have their addresses. So figure out who your neighbors are, who you know or who you think know you, and make sure you load your immediate neighbors in. Neighbors behind you, neighbors on both sides of you, across the street, everyone close to your house. Because there's nothing more frustrating than a house going on the market next door to you with a different agent, and you have to see that for sale sign. Oh, that's frustrating. And you know what they'll probably say? I had no idea you were selling houses now. We would have totally used you if we knew. Well, again, the more people who know you sell houses, the more houses you're going to sell. Now, we're going to come back to neighbors when we get into farming later. Let's talk about high school. High school is an interesting one, depending on how old you are now. If a lot of years have passed, it's going to be a little harder. High school and your high school friends can be a phenomenal source of names and referrals. The problem now is, who are they? And how do you get their if they're women, how do you get their new last name? Because most of them should be married. How do you get their names? How do you get their addresses? You have no contact info on these people anymore at all. Couple things you should think about. Where is your high school reunion book? Did you even go to your reunion? If you didn't, then find a friend and ask if they went to the reunion, or just do a post. And does anyone have the reunion, the class reunion book from the last reunion? You'd be amazed. I've got one. Ask if you can get it, or order one, or make a copy, or whatever. What you're gonna do with these categories, you're gonna think of names, or you're gonna think of just first names. Write down everything you can think of. Just make a huge, exhausted list, and then come back to it. We'll come back to this in a minute, how you figure out incomplete information. College is a tough one, because you might have gone away to school for college. If you went 3 or 4 hours away, you might not have any leads from college. But, for example, one of the friends that I knew when I was going to college is now a real estate agent in that city. And so he gives me referrals sometimes, and that's the way you want to think about those names from college. If you went locally to college, then just brainstorm every name you can think of, teachers' names, all the different professors. Think of every possible name. You'd be surprised what will pop in the middle of your mind as you're starting to go to sleep, and you think, oh my gosh, I remember Professor so-and-so. Oh, he would be so good if I could get his name. Well, or his address. You think of his name, write it down. Your nightstand should have a sheet of paper. Get up, turn on the light, write it down. Make sure you write it down before you forget, because if you forget that, you just won't think of it again. Now, these are huge categories. Your friends. Your friends from all different chapters of life. You're going to have to just sit there and just think. Every single one of your current friends, the most obvious friends you have, people you see on a regular basis, you text them all the time, you're joking around, you're always having conversations, they have to go in your name list. It will be so obvious, they're going to say, again, like your parents, why are you sending me your mailings? Because they are your biggest supporter. They will spread the word for you. They will give you referrals, but you still have to ask them for business. You just do. What seems obvious won't be so obvious to them. And the harder they see you working this business, the more inclined they are to help support you to do it. Now, this is going to take some time on friends. While you're thinking of that, some of these will start to overlap. If you have friends from high school, because we just went through your high school list, you've got some friends from high school. Are their parents still in that same house? You need to put their parents in your name list also, because even though you didn't really ever know their parents, they probably remember you. And you can do different, you can contact them differently. You can send them an individual letter. Say, I was just talking with their son, and he suggested that I add you into my name list. I'm a brand new realtor, and I am building up my clientele list, and just do a letter announcing you're a real estate agent now. The parents of your friends have been one of the biggest areas of support I've had in my career. Because of high school friends, their parents, many of them, are now aging to the point they're going to senior living. And so a lot of those houses have come on the market at the same time over the last few years. Parents of your kids' friends. This is where you need to start getting creative. Think about your kids' friends, where those kids live. Most of them are probably in your neighborhood. So again, they may fall under neighbors, but they may be on sports teams, and that's where a lot of your kids' friends are. And so it could be a soccer team, baseball team, softball team, baseball team, all different kinds of teams. You probably have access to group emails from coaches. That's where we collect this. Figure out their names. They're probably obvious if they're in those email addresses. And you can then go into tax records later and figure out those addresses. Some of them, you might know the addresses if you're dropping your kids off at their house to play. If they come over and you've never been to their house, ask the kid where they live, get that address, put them in your name list. These are huge, wonderful categories to get referrals or to even sell their personal homes. Now, these don't really matter as much, but let's brainstorm all the different sources. Wherever you go to the dentist, you're going there twice a year to get your teeth cleaned. Put them in your name list. Put the dentist. So here's what I do. I do the name of the dentist. I also do the office staff because I'll send out magnets or I'll send it a calendar. And it would be great if they would hang it up because there's my name and my picture hanging up right there, hopefully right behind the desk in the front of the dentist office. Same with your doctor. Now, if this is a doctor you don't know well, don't add them. They won't remember who you are. But if you go to a doctor regularly, then yeah, add them in. You don't need home addresses for these. Just send it to their office. They'll hang it up right there at work. Past jobs. I'm going to make the assumption that we all just kind of ended up here. We all come from past jobs, usually jobs we were unhappy at, or they went out of business. Sometimes people get fired from those jobs. And then as a last resort, we all get our real estate license and boom, here we are. None of us went to college to become a real estate agent. As sad as that is, most of us who are in your office or me or in agents in my office who sell the most homes in your office probably make more money than any other previous job they've ever had. But as you think through all your past jobs, think about who you knew from there and add them into your name list. And just take notes. I can't remember her last name now, but her first name was Missy. Write it down. Missy from wherever. Come back to that later. You will figure out a lot of these names as you go to collect addresses and emails later. Just create the source of the names. Now, the gym. Let's say you work out. What I do to make this easier on me, I have a custom shirt. I made it on Vistaprint. It has my name and my team name, Go Forth Team. The company logo that I'm with, my brokerage, has my phone number. I have it on the back too. You would be amazed the conversations that starts. People just walk up to me and just say, "Hey, are you a real estate agent?" I'm like, I am. And they'll say, "How's the housing market these days?" Or sometimes they'll say, "I'm not thinking of moving, but I thought about maybe refinancing because rates are so low. Do you have a lender maybe you could recommend?" Well, of course you will. It's amazing the conversations that will bring up. If you're standing there on a treadmill for 20, 30 minutes, you've probably got people behind you also on treadmills. They're reading the back of your shirt. It's a cheap, fun thing to do, and it can bring on conversations that otherwise could be hard to do. Sometimes they'll say, and let's say that conversation, says he's not interested in selling, and I'll say, I'm about to send out some baseball magnets. So we've got here in Kansas City, we got the Kansas City Royals. We do magnets for the baseball team. We also do magnets for our football team, which is the Chiefs. For years and decades, we had not a great team. Last year, we win the Super Bowl, and this year, hopefully, we do it again. But regardless whether your team is great or not great, send out magnets. We're going to talk about all that in a minute. That is your source of names. You're going to spend a lot of time on this. Now, let's go into the next category. Hopefully you wrote all this down. Brainstorm other ideas. Let's say you're in a chamber of commerce. Definitely add the people in there. If you're in the local chamber, your local chamber is probably full of mainly real estate agents and insurance agents. But add everybody in there if they're not a real estate agent. Think of other sources. This is endless. It goes on and on and on. Ways you can come up with names. Before we move on from this, I want to mention go back to family. After you complete all this, go back to your family. Look at, let's pick your brother. And now contact your brother and say, I'm putting together a name list. I want as many names and addresses as I can get to mail things to people to sell houses. Ask him or your sister, their friends. Who are their friends that they could give you their names and addresses? My brother, for example, my brother and his wife gave me names and addresses. Some of them I knew, but he's almost 5 years younger. So we had different friends growing up, but he gave me some of his friends. I have sold some of his friends their houses. Go figure. It's because I asked my brother for his list. They went in my source of names. So when I do a mailing, his friends get it too. The same with your parents. Let's talk about my parents, what I did. I took my parents' Christmas card list. You need to get that. They will have one because of their age. Young people typically aren't sending out Christmas cards. They do a Facebook post. they send out an instant message. But with your parents, there is a Christmas card list there. That's their friends. You need their friends, their names and addresses in your source of names. That is a huge category that you've got to make sure you don't miss out on. Now, with both my parents, they taught school. They had a lot of really close teacher friends. They gave me those names and their addresses. Again, you'd be amazed how many people I have sold their friends. For example, one of my parents' friends, I sold their old home that they had for years. Sold them a ranch out in the suburb where I live. As time has passed, they went into senior living. I sold that house again, and then they rent in senior living. After that, I sold one of their sons a house. I sold another one of their sons, his wife's parents. That happened earlier this year. It can go on and on and on and on because now you're getting referrals from one of your parents' friends. So don't miss out going back to these categories. Your best friends. This is what I do with my closest friend. I asked him, would you help me out? I need more names and addresses. I don't have enough. Who are his closest friends? Well, he's not from here, but he does have a few friends here. I took those few friends, added all of them in my name list. 2 of those people, I've sold them houses already. Go figure. Don't miss out on getting the friends of your friends and your family. Add all of them in also. So right now you're probably thinking, what am I supposed to do with this name list? What's the purpose of it? Because nobody else is doing this, and I guarantee very few agents in your office who are new agents are doing this. It's time consuming. Obviously you can see it's a lot of work. That whole thing we just talked about, I would like to have you do that in less than a week. Put time into it. I want you to take this very seriously and do it fast. Don't waste time. So when you're a new agent, here's the biggest mistake agents will make. They get bogged down taking classes. They want to learn everything first. They're afraid to go talk to somebody. They certainly don't want to talk to their COI list. How embarrassing. They're a new agent. They don't know anything about real estate yet. They certainly don't want to go make mistakes with the people they know. And so they don't contact anyone on their COI list. And that is why most agents fail. So you need to get over that. You need to start stupid in this business. You're gonna make mistakes. I've been doing this 24 years, I still make mistakes. I still make mistakes after selling hundreds of houses because the business is always changing. You know, VA loan limits just changed in the last few weeks. Did you know that? Well, they did. Hardly anybody probably knows the structure of VA, especially for the upper bracket price range. And you don't have to know that. That's why you have lenders. I will say you're going to use the phrase, I don't know, but I'm going to find out for you. You're going to use that a lot when you're new. What I want you to do, take your name list, begin marketing yourself. You are the brand. You don't sell houses. You don't have any customers. You don't have any listings. What you have is your name. your brand, your image, your reputation with the brand of your brokerage. That is your product. That's what you're marketing consistently to your COI list. Now, this is what you're going to do. I break mine down into list A and list B, two different lists. I usually merge them together wherever I send out something, but this way you kind of keep them apart a little bit. List A is everything we've talked about so far. Your sphere of influence, all those names and addresses, that is list A. List B is farming. What is farming? You probably heard the term. Farming is where you take a neighborhood and you solicit every single house in those streets. Now, it might be a huge neighborhood. You can only afford maybe half of it. So you're gonna farm whatever you're gonna farm, half the neighborhood, and you're gonna go into tax records and you're going to pull up every name and address. You're gonna load those into another Excel spreadsheet. The success rate of getting business from list B is very low. It's gonna fall under everything else that you do. It's a numbers game, but it works. I farm the old neighborhood where I grew up, and I still farm it. Now, I've sold a lot of houses in that neighborhood. I've sold about 25 houses in that neighborhood by now. And I farm about half of the neighborhood where we live now. Now, where we live now is an upper bracket price range, and it's solicited by a lot of other realtors. It's very competitive in here, but I still farm half of it. I just don't have the money to farm the whole thing. It's a lot of houses in my neighborhood, but I farm half of it. Out of that half, over time, if you're consistent with your advertising, with your mailings, with whatever you're sending out, you'll get business. Then let's say I get a listing in my neighborhood. Then I send out a postcard. There's a lot of different online companies that do this. The one I happen to be using right now is prospectsplus.com. I do a postcard mailing through them. I design it on their website. They mail it out to the surrounding houses around that new listing, which overlaps with my farming. Also overlaps with some of my name list, because some of my kids' friends, their parents live in the neighborhood. So I've already got them in list A. That's the list. That's how you create your list. Now, what do you do with it? That's the big question. Here's what I do with it. In the beginning, years ago, I started sending out a mailing every month. I did 12 mailings a year. Yes, that's expensive. That's what I did. Certain mailings will work better than others. Some mailings are a big waste of money. I still send them in the beginning because I was told to do it. Recipe postcards. If it's some weird recipe that nobody's ever gonna make, don't send that out. It's going in the trash faster than your regular mailings. But some mailings are great. And that's what we're talking about first. What I do now, even as a seasoned agent who sold a lot of houses. By the way, as you start selling those houses, make sure you update your name list. It's always being updated by you. When you do farming, a lot of these are going to come back. The tax records are wrong, they get returned to you. Take them out of the list so you're not wasting more stamps on wrong addresses. As you sell houses, make sure you put them in your name list. And as you do that, ask, do they know anybody that you could be marketing yourself to? Like maybe their parents, and add them in. So when it comes time to do your next mailing, you're not looking for little stick notes everywhere to get it updated. Update it all the time. Now, what I do now, here's what I do and the agents on my team. We do a Happy New Year's mailing. This kicks off the new year, and every single mailing will ask for business. You're asking for business, you're thanking them for referrals. Because the whole key to this, ask for business. Everyone, ask for business. Who are you asking? Everyone you can find, because the more people who know you sell homes, the more homes you're going to sell. So I do a Happy New Year's mailing. We immediately follow that up with a Valentines mailing. We're timing these on purpose because springtime here is our busiest season. March, April, and May are huge months. So we're ramping up to that quickly because you don't want to be getting all your listings in the end of May. You just missed the busy season. I want those listings getting ready in January and February so that I can get them on the market by March. We followed that up with a baseball magnet with a flyer. If you have a team in your city, I suggest you do this. Magnets are a phenomenal source of something to send out because they're going to keep them. They're going to hang it on the refrigerator. They're going to see your face, your name, your phone number every day. What a gold mine. Then we take a break from mailings, and then we wait until fall, and then we send out a football flyer with a football magnet with the schedule on it. On the back of that, we typically have other teams too. Then I do an extra mailing in November, a calendar. So if it's just something else you can think about, it's a wall calendar that hangs up. It has Kansas City pictures on it. They're really nice pictures. That's definitely an option that you can do. The key to mailings is consistency. You're going to get nothing off your first mailing. They're going to read it and think, oh, interesting. So-and-so is a real estate agent now. Hey, dear, look at this. Look what he's doing now. You're going to follow that with another mailing. And then they're going to, hey, look, here's another mailing from so-and-so. Wonder how his parents are doing. You're going to follow that with another mailing. And at this point, it crosses their mind, you know, we're thinking of moving. Maybe we should call him instead of whoever we were going to call and have him come over and price our house. We frequently offer a free market analysis. We always put a family picture. Always. All these years, every mailing, we do a family picture. The only complaints I've ever had is when I don't do a family picture. Everybody wants to know how my kids look. Are they growing? They love to see the development of my family over these years. I announced when I got married. I announced for each kid we had. They're fun. Make your mailings personal because people will relate to you better. Calls and texts and emails are similar. So are instant messages. Whatever you can do to contact people on a regular basis. Here's something, the reason why I have this. In your name list, you may not have addresses yet. So you need to go into MLS and figure out those addresses by searching their names in the tax records and find those addresses so you can do mailings. Something you can do, here's what I do. We're about ready to send out baseball magnets. And so I will send instant messages to people who I see them on Facebook, but I don't have their addresses. And I'll just shoot them a message and I'll say, hey, it's Jonathan Goforth. Haven't talked to you in a long time, but it's fun to see your posts on Facebook. I'm about to send out some baseball schedule magnets. If you want one, they're really nice. Just send me back your home address. You'd be amazed how many addresses I collect off doing that. Speaking of Facebook, you need to be doing real estate posts. Not every day, because that's really annoying. But if you can do them every day, if you have a purpose, do them every day. Post every open house you're about to do. Post it earlier in the week. Post it on the day of. Do a live video while you're there. Get there early for that. Post it on Facebook, because you don't have listings probably to talk about yet. Post random other things about real estate. People love that. Let's say it's getting cold outside. Do a post. Make sure you unscrew your hoses from your water spigots. Things like that. Just lots of things. Other things you can mail out. In addition to that, you can do postcard mailings about when it's time to change the clocks. Fall back or spring forward. Those are great things. Of course, they're all going in the trash. But you have to keep yourself in front of your name list. You can send out texts. Calling them is wonderful if you can get their phone numbers. And just, hi, it's Jonathan Goforth. Just wanted to let you know I am a real estate agent now, and just thought I would give you a call. See if you're ever curious what your home is worth. I'd be glad to stop by, give you a free pricing opinion, or if any of your friends might be interested, I would love to do that for them too. If you get voicemail, usually you will, leave them a message. Say what you want to say, have a little script written out, 2 or 3 sentences, you'd be amazed, especially if they're also getting your mailings. This is a great way to follow up over and over. Emails are unique now. So your brokerage might have a technology package where you can load things into a program. Some kind of like an e-edge or something where you can load your clients' email addresses and then create a drip campaign. A drip campaign is where it will automatically send them an email. It'll just kind of drip throughout the year. Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, Happy New Year, Happy St. Patrick's Day. They will get similar emails from a lot of other people also. A lot of those emails typically go into their spam, just so you know. But if they happen to see it and they read it before they delete it, it's a great way to also touch your clients. I have never backed off of my mailings because as the price of stamps keeps increasing, other people stop doing junk mail. And so my junk mail has become more and more effective. You might want to ask for stamps for Christmas and your birthday presents because you're going to go through a lot of stamps. And just like the purpose of this is to ask for referrals and ask for business, I'm going to ask for you to subscribe to my channel because that's what I would like. I need some subscribers. This is the most valuable thing you're ever going to own. I want to stress the importance of this. I want you to do this now. Don't wait. Here's the biggest mistake so many agents make. They want to be the expert at real estate first. Before they ask anyone to be a customer, they want to learn everything first. Don't do that. You'll spend too much time taking all kinds of classes on how to do an open house, how to do a listing presentation, how to do this, how to do that. Don't waste time doing all that first. Do this at the same time. Start marketing yourself from day one. Day one, as soon as you're licensed, start marketing yourself. If you get a listing appointment really fast, and you could, take somebody in your office with you. Take your broker, take whoever's training you, bring them with you, have them do it with you and for you at first so you can see. Do role playing while you're taking all these classes, but don't wait. Don't ever feel embarrassed to contact your name list that you're a new agent, because you are a new agent. The only way you're going to become an experienced agent and get their business, the only way is to ask.